Like, don't at me.
Don't at me. Goddamn. Don't at me. Don't at me.
I have some leftovers.
Man.
So we talked about NBA and kind of the whole bubble situation and how, I think in some ways it'll impact the way people play. I feel like you're going to have some of those players that typically kind of, the spotlight gets a little too bright. They kind of, short shot on their, their shit. I think a lot of that kind of goes away now without the fans, without any of the pressure, without a ton of media swarming, without all these post-game interviews, with it just being like almost like a summer camp. I think a lot of those people that you used to see maybe choke can actually kind of, get the monkey off their shoulder, go out there and, win this year. I mean, I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but I definitely
I definitely agree, bro, because you got people like fucking who's the dude from the Mavericks that lighting us up the other night? Gary.
Which one? Everybody.
Trey Burke.
Oh, Trey Burke.
You know what I mean? You have your Trey Burks and then, the dude on the Pacers as well. So you're right.
TJ Warren.
TJ Warren. 54.
Tearing us up.
And the crazy thing is, that's not going to be like an everyday thing, I feel, but it does boost their confidence of like, hey, I'm balling out against fucking superstars, because the superstars aren't really looking like superstars. You can argue that LeBron one night kind of looked old a little bit, or just something went off. You know what I mean? So now, which is, that's like blasphemy for me to say that, but it is what it is. So I definitely agree, Mike. Like, it would be like a newer super teams forming, for that young generation.
Well, and I mean, like, you have your players like Curry, who, I mean, I know he's not in the bubble, but players like Curry that they start making shots, it kind of feeds into it. It's like an avalanche. I think they feed off that energy, and it's just like boom, 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 higher, higher, higher. They keep kind of riding on that momentum. And then you have some that, the end of the games, their shots just get a little bit tight, or just they seem to just be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Some of the people, and I mean, I don't think the guy's necessarily a choke, but I feel like a lot of the time he'll be on the losing side of this. Last time we saw him last year wearing these, name right here, Oklahoma City, Paul George, I feel like he can really thrive from this. And I mean, we've already seen it. The first game of the year, or the restart against the Lakers, lights out, knocking out just about every shot. I mean, he was on fire. He played better than Kawhi in that game, I thought. So I think he, in a lot of ways, can kind of like elevate from this. I think he's one of the candidates to come to mind for me.
Yeah, he's already been doing it too. Go ahead, Gary. Go back.
No, I definitely like Mike mentioned. You could see the catalyst in this. Like, you can see the guys who are going to ball out because there's no fanfare, and the guys who are going to pretty much become neutral, and it won't help. Obviously, Steph, and like you mentioned earlier, but Clay also fed off that Oracle Arena hype, and I hated it because almost like as soon as Steph caught momentum, the arena got louder. Then because of that, Clay started hitting. So like not having either one of them helps perfectly. But another guy that it could hurt, that it used to help, is a guy like Dame, like who usually knocks out, like has a random year where he'll knock out the Rockets, back in 2014 over Chandler Parsons, Dame, the same guy who just completely annihilated, OKC with a three to, to seal the game over Paul George. So those same people you see, they're constantly coming up short, made us have a chance this year. So PG, was definitely a good one.
And it's funny that you mentioned Dame, because I noticed that in that Celtics game Sunday, I mean, he was on fire. He brought them kind of back, like he kind of brought them back into the game. But then in the fourth quarter, it was like he was just jacking up threes. And
momentum kind of fizzles out.
They're off. You don't have that same adrenaline boost that you might get when the crowd is screaming and amped up, and you hit that and you just see people freaking explode up. You know what I mean? Like, you lose that. So I think that's a good point. Dame, it might actually be, something that hurts him.
Yeah. How do you feel about it, Chance?
That's what actually I was going to say about like football too. Like, that's why I asked about that earlier.
on the on 43 was because I was like, the crowd noise and all of that. I mean, like you said, in basketball, football, whatever it is. I mean, like when the quarterback's like, I can't hear and shit like that. I mean, that shit that
All starts. Yeah.
Third
like the
down.
element of the fucking game. You know what I'm saying? So like, you get fucking super loud, even in baseball. You know what I'm saying? Where like it's, like when you're in the fucking when you're in like fucking playoffs or World Series and shit like that. I mean, that shit. It's like, oh, you're in the fucking top of the fucking eighth, and it's like, all right, nigga, do we want to like keep going? Let's get like real loud, so like we can get these boys out of here. So like next time, so we don't even have to go to like the bottom of the ninth. Shit like that. I mean, I don't know, man. The element is just gonna be so weird. Like I would love to get into the bubble though. Like I've heard like people like getting into the bubble. You know what I'm saying? Sneaking like their way in, or like finessing their way,
Like
or
fake credentials or something.
yeah, like doing like what I'm saying. Like there's ways in that shit I've heard. So I don't know, man. I'd love to fucking like I don't know, do some shit like that. But yeah,
Football, that's a good point, especially like third down. I mean, think about third down on the road. Like it's you can't hear. You see the screen shaking. Now it's gonna be just like
nothing. Not exciting at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it completely eliminates that element. No 12th man and no Arrowhead Stadium loud noise. So we'll see.
Right, you have automated noise, and that's automated. It's not real people,
space.
That's why I'm back to them, like we were talking about. How the hell are y'all missing free throws when it's like nobody really making noise there? It's automated. I think everybody should hit their free throws. Like
it's all muscle memory at that point. If you're not making it at that point, you're not practicing it.
Is it piped into the bubble?
Well,
Like
so I actually thought that was kind of cool. Like I forgot what broadcast it was. I don't know if it's all the broadcasts, but I think they have something on your phone, right? Like you can tap to kind of create noise, and so I guess if you have more fan engagement, it might be louder.
Like an app?
I think so. I don't know I can't remember if it was ESPN or if it was TNT's broadcast, but it was one of them had mentioned something about the fan.
That's pretty dope.
Let me ask y'all a question. If y'all are NBA players, right, you think that would affect y'all hearing the automated noise or, like, not really? Like, if y'all at the free throw line.
The frequency,
so.
Yeah,
Fourth quarter, knees tired.
Is that what?
I think actual noise, yeah. I think, like, just seeing the digital screens just making noise, I'll be like,
What I'm saying,
so, what I want to see more of, and I thought I'd see more of, like more other teams like sitting courtside watching games, and maybe when we get to the playoffs, you'll have that. I think that would be cool, like high school,
like showing up. Yeah.
But I also don't know though if your team is eliminated. I mean, are you basically booted from the bubble? So if you get to the finals, is it just the two teams and that's it? Because that would be kind of eerie, right? Like 25 people, and like the other side is the other set, like the other, that's the other clique, that's the other team. Like you don't want to like mingle with them. You're all in the finals, the championship,
I think everybody's gonna stay just to hype it up, the finals. It only makes sense to me. Like, hey, y'all. Yeah. Well, I think they're gonna have a choice. Hey, do y'all want to stay? To kind of like
hope so.
Ends,
a lot of guys with families, like the Jason Tatums, they'll probably go home. Spend time with their son. But they're like the single guys, they probably stay out there for a little longer.
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree.
So the other thing about this, I guess the final leftover I had with the whole bubble thing, one of the rumors I keep hearing more and more of, and really not rumor but speculation, is this is going to give birth to the next big super team. Because if you think about it, these guys are just hanging out. It's kind of like the Olympics, right? That's where a lot of the the Heat kind of coming together. The big three. What was that, like 08 Olympics?
Mm-hmm.
Bosh, Wade, LeBron, all getting tight. That's where they were talking about, hey, let's team up. And I mean, they were looking at the Knicks, but the Knicks blew it, So the Heat, came in and Pat Riley dropped the rings on the table. The rest was history. So people don't realize. I mean, people realize, but Giannis is going to be a free agent in 2 months. Whenever, not 2 months, but whenever it is. You're going to pick up the season in December with possibly people in other uniforms, and they're probably going to be right back in the bubble. So to Gary's point about, Clay and Steph, they'll probably be impacted by this at the start of the next season, when they very likely play in a bubble. I mean, they're kind of Silver's telling the teams, be ready to play in a bubble. But you could see super teams kind of developing, right? You could see, hey, if I'm going to be here next summer for summer camp, I want to be on your team. So I'm going to sign a 1-and-1. Once all this bubble shit goes away, then I can evaluate where I want to live full time. But right now, it's almost like, okay, basketball, you live anywhere you want, just show up for the bubble for a couple months and then go home, So I don't know. I mean, I think this could possibly feed into that, especially since there aren't really many super duper duper stars. You got LeBron, of course, at the tail end of his career. You've got Zion as kind of like the big name. But, I mean, aside from that, Tatum? You want to sell me on Tatum being like, he's not on that level. So, I mean, I think you could see some of those factions, those, hey, let's build up a super team. You might see some of that in the making right now. Giannis, of course.
I agree.
I don't see him just building a super team, but, maybe he goes somewhere. They always say, Golden State.
Right. So I think, in my opinion, the super team that I see coming to mind right now is a shirt that you're wearing, actually, Oklahoma City. I see them, people going to them, surprisingly, because, they have, a lot of picks. We talked about that. And they seem like, I don't know, when I watch them, besides the Pelicans, it seems like they're having fun out there. And that's why I respect Chris Paul, because he got the wrong end of the stick on that. He went to – I felt bad and sorry, damn, he's going to a place, to die pretty much his career, and then, look what's happening. He's building those young people up. And you have, Michael Gilchrist, Alexander. Those young stars coming up. It's pretty dope. So I definitely see people wanting to play with them. And, aside from them, I see the Pelicans, too, because they're young. They look fun as well. So, the one and done, hey, somebody, in the ladder of their career, let me just hop on y'all squad real quick to kind of get y'all over the hump. I can see people that's been, almost, at the fucking, the pivotal summit and, not making it, going to them because, a young team, they don't really have that veteran leadership. So, because look what Chris Paul's doing. He's a veteran, and they're in the fucking playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So I see it happening with the Pelicans, So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and not just that, but in the West, everyone's separated by 2 games. So, I mean, the Rockets have just moved up to 4. They could even take the 2 seed mathematically at this point. So, yeah, the Thunder could easily be, before it's all said and done, in the 4 or 5 spot, which is wild. One thing I also want to –
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The one thing I wanted to mention was, like Mike had mentioned, everyone's age. At this point, everyone's kind of getting – well, at least every star is a lot older and is getting older, surprisingly, in their careers. I saw a chart that said Steph, 32, KD, 31, yeah. Russ, 30, James Harden, 30. All these guys, LeBron, 35. Everyone's getting older. So at a certain point, there may be that next shift where these guys who are like, man, I'm not winning the ring yet, join together. And that does start the creation of a super team.
Well, especially if you are on 1 year, maybe it's, hey, let me spend 1 year with OKC. I wouldn't even say in OKC, because if we're in the bubble again, you're going to be in Orlando.
The same place. Yeah.
So, I mean, you could have that. All right, 1 year.
What team you play for?
Huh?
It really doesn't even matter what team you play for because of the atmosphere.
Right.
You're in a certain atmosphere. You're in the bubble.
Yeah.
So it's you're just representing a company, that's based out of Oklahoma or somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be fucking interesting if you think, look at the players looking at it that way. It's oh, I'm not really playing in OKC. I'm just playing for them.
The other part of that.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting kind of really into the weeds here, but when you think about state taxes, Florida, there isn't one. If your playing season is entirely in the bubble in Orlando in 2021, can you argue that you're actually working in Florida? So you should be able to – well, I guess you'd have to establish residence, but, would you maybe see people get screwed with that?
I'm pretty sure a few of their accountants will get interesting with it.
Yeah, let me get a house in Florida. I live there, right, for the bubble, but really, I live in OKC. I don't know how the taxes work.
They should move the bubble around.
Well, maybe you have, multiple bubbles, like regional, and, you kind of follow a certain protocol getting from one to the next. I mean, maybe
Or
that's
schedule
conceivable, or
it.
east-west.
Yeah, schedule it in a certain way to where like there's not as much traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the regional thing because like you want to change the scenery. You know, you don't want to always like see the same shit every day because it'll drive you crazy.
And that gives more people to not come to just like one side of the country, from everyone. Say like someone in Utah or something wants to go, check out a game, and you got to go to fucking Florida. But like, say, you have a bubble in like San Francisco that like takes care of like the whole West Coast, and so you got everything from like fucking, does Seattle still have a fucking team? No, right?
No, but maybe in the future.
Maybe one day though, you know what I'm saying? So you have everything, on the West, like Golden State, fucking Sacramento. I mean, all those teams over there, you can handle all that shit over there whenever they're over there and shit like that. You got one like say here in Houston where it's like, you got the Mavs, you got the Pelicans, you know what I'm saying? Like, have one Southeast, one Northeast, one Midwest, like, I mean, there's many ways they can go about it next time around, instead of just having it in Florida. And then like you wouldn't like those people, they wouldn't have to move, or like, the accountants wouldn't have to kind of look into like, oh dude, you should just buy a house out here so you don't have to pay state taxes or shit like that. I mean, because it'll keep everything, kind of easier. It'll make everything easier, if you ask me. Like, I mean, you can get your fans there. Then you can start, like it's like building a theme park. It's like building Morrun Mountain from Space Jam.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's dope. Like they should have me on like these executive, like, boards and shit like that, man. I tell you, man, I have some fire shit out there.
But yeah, I want to see OKC become a super team again. Hence, I'm saying again because they already were when they had everybody. Remember at one point.
Yeah. We'll have to visit that one in yesteryear. Teams that weren't.
Yeah.
Sad. Well, thanks for tuning in to The Leftovers. Y'all know what to do. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and, of course, on YouTube. Chance, you've been practicing the lingo.
Oh, yeah. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Check out the website.
That like button, guys. That's what like those
Right
fucking...
there. Subscribe right there. Look right there. Yeah. No, but for real, do that. Share the word, rate, review, and we'll tune in next week. Peace.